Men of Reddit, what's a mistake you see younger men making repeatedly? Story 1. Take care of your bodies. I don't mean just exercise, but get injuries checked. Wear a helmet. Maybe don't try the first backflip of your life off the hood of your car while 8 beers deep. Stuff like that. This isn't necessarily just men, but we do seem to be the dumbest ones in this regard. I was guilty as hell and am now paying the price. I was an athlete raised to just walk it off. Now I'm in my 40s with joints that sound like Rice Krispies and lingering effects of multiple concussions in my 20s. Answer. Yep, I was a college athlete and it fitted my lower back up when I was 21, lifting something, an old moped onto a sidewalk, with improper form. I ended up herniating 3 discs that continue to bother me nearly 20 years later. The pain isn't as bad as it used to be, but it's constant and uncomfortable, literally 247. If I had used a little forethought and been more careful, I could have saved myself a lot of trouble, time, and money. Orthopedic spine surgeons aren't cheap. Know your limits and invest in your future by not being overconfident with your present. Also, wear earplugs if you go to a concert, especially if it's in a closed space. Hearing loss and tinnitus are no joke. Story 2. Honest truth to God, having intimacy without condoms and treating the girls like they are intimacy toys. Then fast forward 40 y'all, they pay for kids they never wanted with a person that never liked and end up alone because they don't know how to treat women. Tale old as time. Answer. It boggles my mind that dudes out here not wrapping it up. Like kids I knew when I was in high school were having kids, and I can't imagine how difficult it must have been going through that. As an adult, I heard of kid who was 16 who was going to be a dad. 16. I'm 31, about to be 32, and I've had no kids. My life is already difficult as is. As great as kids are, I myself can't see myself being a dad nor wanting kids. It's wild that even grown adults can't be bothered to protect people and themselves from both STD, STIs, and unwanted pregnancies. Story 3. She's probably not the one. Babies are expensive. Be clever and disciplined. Gossips gossip about you. Develop strong morals that you will fight for. Nothing gets easier. You just get more resilient. Know the laws that apply to you and your rights. Fix things yourself and collect and maintain tools. Don't be a male body part. Don't ask if someone needs help. Just help. Give your donations directly to the poor person. Watch your mouth. Story 4. Instant gratification is plaguing my generation. I'm Gen Z, and I think everything wrong with everyone who's not satisfied with where they're at in their life is just due to some sort of instant gratification, whether it's video games, substances, adult beverage, or other ways to instantly gratify oneself. Story 5. Not wearing PPE. I'm tired of calling you out on it. Just wear your hearing protection, dust masks, respirator, eye protection, composite or steel-toes boots, knee pads, welding jackets and gloves, and latex neoprene and nitrile gloves to protect against harsh chemicals and everything else you need to wear to go home safely. You get one set of eyes, lungs, ears, kidneys. Not everything on you is repairable or correctable if injured. If you don't know, ask. But if you do know, then do it safely and correctly without the shortcuts. Answer, dude, I am a welder and own a sandblasting company. I constantly harass the kids to do their work safely. I am not very nice about it either if I have to ask a second time either. I care about their future. Don't be the tough guy. I know a lot of tough guys with one eye, lung cancer, severe back pain, etc. I'm one of them. I just turned 50 and I'm shopping for hearing aids as I look at this Reddit thread. I always have a small cough you'll never get rid of. My back always aches. I have a couple small spots in my vision from flying steel when I was starting out. All this stuff was preventable. I'm not nice about it. I catch them once without earplugs. I'll ask them if they want to be like me and always ask them 5 times what the hell they said. I tell them, hey buddy, I just want you to be safe. I want you to go home with all your fingers and not have to get something drilled out of your eye or worse. If it happens again, you're gone. I am not nice about discipline, but they respect me because they know I am trying to look out for them. I take a lot of time treating them as adults, and they aren't scared to approach me about anything they want to ask me about, even if it's not related to the job. They aren't scared to tell me about mistakes. We can fix mistakes. 99 of the time, we are a jolly old family and call each other names. When it comes to easy safety, though, I don't let anything slide. If they see me struggle and they are still too stupid to make the right decisions, then I don't want them around. Sorry, I wrote a novel. Story 6. Fast forwarding. I'm 77 and I'm just starting to learn how fast everything goes. The movie Click is so amazing in how it portrays what we do one way or another. We fast forward to parts we like for the small bits of objective enjoyment, and we loose, 50 of our life to thinking we were miserable when we didn't have to be. The obvious example is we fast forward through 5 days of work so we can sleep, drink, video game the 12 of the time we get to do it. That leaves 12 your life you're not wanting to be in. Then we get to Monday and we literally eliminate time until we get to the weekend. It doesn't have to be like that. Find things to enjoy. I'm dead serious. Live every single minute you can in whatever gratitude you can squeeze out. I have a shoot job, RN. The whole thing is insane. I digress, but I love the people I work with. Sunday saccharies? Nah, starting Monday, I get to hang with some dope jerk people and help solve some problems that shouldn't exist, and we'll have some fun in a bad situation. Learn to find the fun in everything, even Mondays. Obviously, there are some caveats, but for the most part, don't fast forward. Story 7. Being promiscuous, especially when they have a family. A coworker was fired last week for filming an affair with a coworker and showing it to other coworkers. Also not the first job he had lost that way. He has a wife and 2 small boys. I see lots of young men fall into this trap. They do it to themselves, but I'm sure they think the world is unfair. Story 8. When it comes to dating or even just interacting with women, viewing them through the lens of pop culture tropes and not seeing there's a sentient person there with their own feelings and thoughts on the world. The amount of guys who seem to think talking to women is almost like selecting dialogue options in video game until you unlock the intimacy scene is worrying. Also, viewing anything that's for the benefit of women, particularly if it's something regarding common negative male attitudes towards them, as in personal attack. Actually listen to what's being said. You never know. You may learn something. It's about developing yourself emotionally and as a person and beneficial as a whole, well beyond just interacting with the opposite intimacy. Story 9. Lately thinking that not giving a shoot is cool. I think a lot of us go through that phase when we're younger. I know I did. Being afraid to be seen caring or wanting something because it may open you to failure or mockery. It's cool to care. It's cool to try and fail. Story 10. Buying a brand new car. Get an older beater. Learn to work on it. Even after tools purchased, you save a shoot ton of money. Even just on insurance, you learn more about the world you depend on, become that much more independent, and now you have a bunch of cool tools and rock auto stickers for your fridge. Answer. The amount of people I saw that graduated the same time as me and bought a brand new car to flex was ridiculous. It was figuratively and also quite literally for some instances, like watching a very slow car crash. Same people in debt now, or crash their car and content with a beater now, but still feeling the financial effects of it. It's actually shocking how bad a lot of people are with money and finances. Beaters are great. I don't care if some jackass dings it when I'm not there, and more than likely, they're easier to maintain since older cars were built to last with the right model. Story 11. A lot of guys grow up with a rough hand. Maybe their parents weren't great or weren't really around. Maybe they dealt with rejection, bullying, or never really felt accepted. When that's your background, it's easy to carry anger and let it leak out, online or in real life, as bitterness or hostility toward others. I do feel for guys like that. A bad start in life isn't a choice, but at some point, growth requires recognizing that we still have agency. We can repeat the cycle or we can work to break it. We can invest in ourselves, show up better for the people we care about, and contribute something constructive instead of destructive. Dislike and aggression don't build anything. They're easy reactions, often driven by insecurity. Real strength shows up in self-awareness, restraint, and responsibility. The men people respect aren't the loudest or most hostile. They're the ones who listen, learn, and earn trust over time rather than trying to force it. Adversity can shape us for the worse, or it can sharpen us. I try to let it do the latter, and I think that mindset is worth holding on to. Story 12. Thinking, and therefore acting, like time is running out. Many of us went through this, but the feeling seems to be proliferating. You are not old. You have time to figure things out and recover from most mistakes. There's nothing wrong with starting over when you're older or going back to school after you figure things out. I started college at 23, graduated at 29, then back to school at 31. Now I'm 34 and competing for entry-level jobs with 21-year-olds. And I'm still not old. It's fine, really. Refinement is a lifelong process. Answer, it's a hard lesson to learn, and I still haven't in some ways. Hell, I'm looking at maybe early retirement, and I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. It hurts me to see people here in their 20s, 40s, talking about nothing ahead for them but a life of misery where they'll die at work. My life has changed a lot in my 40s and now 50s. So much can happen over decades, much of it very, very good. Story 13. Learning and taking personal finance seriously. It's the one thing I took seriously early on that has created a huge separation between myself and friends who didn't. Also, there are lots of different finance and investment ideologies. Don't go bananas into just one. Learn about them all and have a balanced approach. Story 14. Not having any boundaries for how they judge someone's character, treatment they'd receive from another person in a relationship, or actions others take on them. Even if they are disrespectful, they will just simply put up with it or take it, thinking it's normal. It's not. Learn that it's not now. It's not rude to say no, or we can't be together if this is how you act. Story 15. Took me many years to start to understand my feelings and emotions. When I was younger, I believed that being a man meant being tough and stoic. You could cry, but needed a monumental reason to do it in public, and anger was the only acceptable emotion. It wasn't until I started raising my own son and seeing the emotional scripts that I had running in my head that I was able to understand how I was feeling in a moment and what type of actions that would bring. I think more young men need to recognize and learn to express their feelings of shame and rejection. Being emotionally immature can work while you're young, but is one of the ways I now recognize people to avoid later in life. Story 16. Listening to dumb fudge like Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, and their manosphere ilk. These are not good male role models. They will only lead you down a path of toxicity, loneliness, and depression because their business model and overall messaging demands it. Story 17. Guy at work has a girlfriend, and he spends so much money on her to keep her happy. He is gifted and talented and still a teenager, worried that he is going to get her pregnant and then stuck in this town. He could be skiing in Europe right now or getting ready to come home for winter recess from NYU. Don't waste your talent, boys. You can do anything you want. Story 18. Using Zins. I grew up chewing. Grizzly then quit using snus. That stuff was bad enough, but the effectiveness of Zins and the easy dopamine, which then down-regulates, fudge you up. The fact that Zins can so easily be started without the pain of chew and then titrated up until you literally cannot do anything without one. Down-regulating dopamine puts you at a significant risk of depression, being lazy, etc. I've been around a good while and I've never seen nicotine use this out of control. For reference, an average smoker gets 1 to 2 milligrams per cigarette. Zins give 3 insanely fast and quick withdrawal. I know plenty of folks using 20 a day of the 6 milligram, which is akin to around 6 packs of cigarettes a freaking day. Story 19. Now that I'm 30, I'm officially old, so I'll weigh in, jumping right into university when they aren't really sure what they want to study, but going anyway because of peer family pressure. Going away to college is a very formative experience, and I made a handful of friends that will likely be in my life till the end, but that's not all university should be. I know people who are not thinking of the gravity of taking loans out to go to school when they applied, and some of them are really kicking themselves now. They all say the same thing: college was fun. I'm glad I went, but if I had a do-over, I probably wouldn't have rushed into going. If you're dead set on a major and have a game plan, do it up. If not, it wouldn't hurt to hold off for a few years, get some work volunteer experience, and try new things until you know yourself and what you like doing a little better. Story 20. Don't get caught up in looks, common interests, and social status when talking to a girl. Just because she's hot, popular, and likes the same shoot as you doesn't mean she's a good person. Focus more on shared values and good character. This may sound like common sense to some, but it isn't in the moment, and keeping this in mind will save a lot of drama and headache. Story 21. I'm in a weird state where I'm getting older, late 30s, and I've had a ton of surgeries from injuries, so my body should be hurting. I honestly feel better than I think I would have at this point because of it, and I still work a physically demanding job. I still tell the younger than myself people to be careful lifting stuff and take care of your body, but I'm a hypocrite or I'm lucky. I don't know, just eat healthy, I guess. Story 22. Look at all the 50-year-old men who have amazing careers and no friends. Between now and then, you gotta make and keep friends. By 50, most realize they need friends but have lost them, moved away, several times over sometimes, and then they blow their brains out. 30 or 40 years is a long time to keep up friendships, but do it. It's so important. Story 23. When I was young, I thought driving at high speed was cool. Now I am older. I am so fudge grateful that I didn't get into an accident or, God forbid, hurt anyone with my idiocracy back then. If I am going to be late to something, I will drive normal and apologize for being late rather than trying to make it in time. Story 24. spending more money than they have to impress some woman. She's only there because of the money, and when it runs out, so is she. There are plenty of women who don't care about the money, but they don't tend to be the flashy ones that get the attention. Story 25. Do not sacrifice your long-term peace for a short-term high. Listen to your gut. If you're second-guessing ordering that last beer, eating that extra G of shrooms, or dropping money on a large purchase, that's your subconscious telling you that something isn't right. Listen to it. Story 26. They don't save enough money for the future. Too many sit around at 30-ish and complain about how they didn't get that or that something is too expensive. It is possible to buy that house, have children, etc., but you need to shift focus from toys and plays now. You don't have to become a monk, but stop wasting your time and money on shoot. Story 27. Not setting healthy boundaries, learning to say no, letting people take advantage of you because you care too much about others' validation of you, being a male body part for no particular reason, not taking care of your health and your body, spending money carelessly on inane things. Story 28. Entitled thinking, i.e. the universe owes them something they want because they have an itemized list of achievements. I should get the job because I have a degree, experience, etc. I should be meeting more women because I have a good income. Go to the gym, etc. Just eliminate any chance for real self-reflection and growth. Story 29. If you put someone on a pedestal, they have no choice but to look down at you. The more you worship someone and think of them as more than you value yourself, then they'll always see you as desperate for their approval and look at you like a puppy dog. You want a partner, an equal, someone you can fart around and have inside jokes with, not someone you're masking and putting 110 effort into hoping they don't get upset that day or you keeping up with expectations. Don't let the honeymoon phase feelings rot your relationships. Story 30. Turning interactions with other men into competitions. If I tell a story, I'll get back a story where they did the same thing, except better in some way. For some reason, we feel like we have to win and can't just have a normal conversation with another man. Do you? Worry about your own things. Story 31. Yeah, ragging on your friends can be fun, but never underestimate the strength of listening and taking your friend's feelings seriously. Also, if a mate is being a creep, bring him up on it. Reassure him he's still your friend if he needs it, but absolutely more guys need to call out shoot behavior. Story 32. Getting man-trapped. So many idiots from my high school knocked up their shoot girlfriends and were obligated to marry the stupid meanie. One guy was smart and joined the Navy just to get as far away from her jerk as possible, and he never set foot in the state again. Another guy is now hitched to a shameless fentanyl addict and never gained the self-respect to tell her to fudge off. Story 33. Don't have intimacy with anyone who doesn't want it as much as you. When doubting, dating, follow the campsite rule. You should leave it better than you found it. Controversial. Stop wearing sweats, basketball shorts, and Crocs out in public. The goal of life is not to be as comfortable as possible all the time. Story 34. In group situations, you can be entertained or you can be the entertainment. Always be entertained. I was young once, and us boys often do our dumbest shoot trying to impress someone or entertain someone when we are in group settings. Just take a second, sit back, and let some other dumb be the entertainment. Story 35. Working too much. There needs to be a balance between life and work. The guys that volunteer for overtime and miss a kid's game or dance recital dumbfounds me. My son had cancer when he was 11, and a guy I work with told me, this is why you take family time more serious than work. He said you can make money anytime. You only get one shot of memory. Story 36. Lack of meaningful social interactions. This can be online or in person. Having known issues about themselves, diet, drinking, cleanliness, but will only change it once they find a girl, not knowing how to communicate their own feelings earlier, only to let everything come out as frustration once they hit a certain point. Sticking around friends for convenience rather than genuine connection. Story 37. Not to take all those fairy tales to heart and too literally, it's not about winning the girl and displays of your tenacity. If someone breaks up or isn't interested, walk away. Also, your mission isn't to have a job. Your mission is to do work that is meaningful to you. Parents find their mission in terms of enduring a job to ensure the well-being of their family and household. If you don't have ties yet, why not go the entrepreneurial route and go for it? Forge a mission that you seek to achieve. Conversely, asking your mission, I'm going to go into finance of whatever, which I loathe, but my mission is to save money, live frugally, and have the means to retire and do whatever I want by the time I'm 40. Again, a sense of purpose can make the difference. Waddling through life is not the way. Story 38. If you don't look back on the stuff you do in your late teens, early 20s and cringe, then you probably have experienced much growth. To that end, enjoy your youth, but spend some time in self-reflection. Think about what kind of man you want to be, and then think about how such a man would act. Small changes can make a massive difference. Do you want to be the kind of guy that impressed the ladies, or cute guys, whatever, with your witty repartee? Then maybe think about how fast you drink. If you get blasted in the first hour of a night out, no one is thinking about how sharp you are. Do you want to be the guy that avoids debt and has healthy finances? Maybe put your last 3 months' bank statements into Excel and work out where your cash goes. I found that I was spending way too much on top-up shops at the supermarket. I am a sucker for seeing things as I walk around. So instead, I did my big shop more often, but smaller, and now I mostly avoid expensive top-up shops. Do you want to be the guy that ends up alone at 40 and lonely? No? Then look at taking up a hobby with a social aspect, something like a hiking club, tabletop gaming, sports. It's going to get you amongst people, build up some social networks, and you will be surprised how useful social contacts are beyond just having people to hang out with. Lots of people find partners, jobs, resources through people they know. Not even the people in the social network, but people linked to them. Story 39. This one applied when I was a teen as well, but trying to fit in with people who don't respect you just because they're considered cool in the social circles. No matter what you may think they're bringing to your life, it is not worth it in the long run. They can change your personality to where you won't even recognize yourself anymore or what you truly stand for. Story 40. Thinking it's cool to be totally disconnected from the people around them and to use people, then discard them. Be curious. Treat people like genuine human beings with rich inner lives just like yours. The saddest old people are the ones who don't have deep connections. Story 41. Not having enough audacious confidence in themselves and not seeing the system for the game that it is. Speaking to most minority guys, minority of any demographic, there are so many leverage points that we can capitalize on better if we just knew it was available. Not necessarily to us, but more objectively within the system itself. Story 42. Listening to toxic masculine and right-wing grifters. No, women are not the cause of all your problems. No, they don't owe you intimacy or even their attention. If you have to tell everyone you're a nice guy, you're probably not. Wash your junk, be polite, and take no for an answer. Women are not that complicated. They just want to live their lives and not end up as some kind of statistic. Same goes for brown people, trans people, or anybody else that didn't choose their situation, but is making the best of it. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Story 43. I see a lot of red pill bullshit and also a lot of young men and women knowing the basics of socialization or communication. Leave the phone at home and get some practice. Learn to pick up a date in a respectful way. Listen to one another. Support one another. We love in a time of so much disconnect, social division. It's horrible. Story 44. They don't date enough. Make sure you meet lots of people so that you see all the warning signs of unhealthy relationships. Hell, you might even find that you're the crazy one, but at least you know what to work on. Take it from a guy that didn't date enough when he was young and is now dealing with the consequences of that. Story 45. I'm a bit late to this one, but letting your friends know you love them. I'm in my mid-30s and just lost a close friend of mine suddenly last month who was also in their 30s. Time is a crazy thing, and taking a bit of that time to let the ones you care about know that you appreciate them can help lift them up. Being kind and empathetic, love, and have big, bold feelings to try and spread some joy can go a long way, and that what you give out has a habit of finding its way back to you too. Story 46. It's probably already been said, but whatever FKN info you're getting about women online, lads, get the FKN offline. You're being manipulated by foreign governments and corporations. You really need to get out of the cave and back into the jungle. Story 47. I'm still young, but I see a lot of younger men with virtually no hobbies, or at least ones which are difficult or redemptive. Really just the most dopamine-fueled gooner activities that don't require much thought or foster personal growth. Lots of gaming, hitting the bong, binge-watching anime, no interest in social activities, or going out hinged on their supposed autism or anxiety. I struggle with this also, but I leave my comfort zone consistently. Story 48. Being angry with anything, it isn't worth the energy. If something makes you so mad and you ruminate on it and dislike it so much, is it worth it? Let it go and you will see the world goes on. I had all of the dislike and anger in me, and it made me unwell, sweaty, increased heart rate, not sleeping over it. I learned to let it go, and my life has gotten exponentially better. Answer: it's easier said than done to deal with anger. Most people can't simply choose to not be angry, and feeling anger is nothing to be ashamed of. But dealing with it is a skill people have to learn, especially if they were not taught as a child. There are many ways to achieve this: therapy, counseling, mindfulness, meditation, talking things through with a trusted friend. The first step is realizing that anger isn't serving you, and the next is choosing and sticking with a path to deal with it. Story 49. Every time I see one of these, I hope that somebody actually takes lessons from it anyway. Not knowing, admitting when they need help, whether out of pride, shame, whatever, the result is the same. Guys, the first thing that we as humans do is cry. We ask for help because we can't do things by ourselves. That is a fundamental part of humanity, and you shouldn't shun it out of some misplaced desire to fit a label. Story 50. Not taking their own safety seriously. Yeah, you're young and untouchable, and you know what you're doing. Life is short, YOLO. I was there too, but all it takes is that one time, and that's it. You'll see video after video they post, and it's not even that impressive. It's always dark, grainy, and they slap on some text that takes up half the video. Story 51. For your own mental health and just good development as a person in general, I recommend to stay away from the manosphere. Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate, et al. They're not trying to give you good advice or help you succeed. They're trying to sell you a product. It's okay to find someone entertaining. Just know that they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts or because they have something important to say. They're doing whatever works to make money. Story 52. Lack of motivation. Seeing so many Gen Z men graduating without jobs or any career prospects. What are you doing after graduation? ADK. Well, it's December and graduate in June. Can I see your resume? I haven't made it yet. Have you called any people, tried networking? Nah, I don't like talking on the phone. Story 53. The manosphere is bad news. The alpha protects the pack out of love for others and sacrifices himself first. The alpha does not ridicule or belittle the pack and seeks to grow his pack through gentlemanly actions and attitudes. The manosphere is poison. Story 54. Buying into the red pill's tradcon nonsense about a woman's place in a relationship. This is for both genders, the absolutely absurd standards at which we hold each other to because accessibility to something shinier is right at our fingertips through social media. I was married for 14 years. She was the love of my life. She wanted a divorce, so we divorced 6 months ago. I looked at the apps and I was nervously laughing at how absurd some of these profiles are. Young men are jaded. Young women are jaded. The difference is, as a man, you have the luxury of being unique and different by not buying into the tradcon bullshit. I am dating someone that I saw at a coffee shop. I just approached her and asked her what she was reading. She was down to earth, and it's been a month of enjoyment thus far. Women are not responsible for you being sexless. They are not responsible for anything in life that feels like a speed bump. Go to therapy. It does wonders. Being vulnerable does wonders. Story 55. Letting achievement become ego. I've worked as a sheet metal worker for over 25 years, and so many times I've watched apprentices and trainees finally get their ticket. We celebrate it and remind them, now you have it. It is time to learn everything that school won't teach you. Then I watch as they proceed to push back on orders, job stipulations, requests, or even timelines. All due to this idea that the bit of paper now means your words is better than mine. They forget the fact that I haven't needed that bit of paper to get paid more than them, because I can prove my skill day in, day out, and my name carries weight since before they finished kindergarten. It is sad to see so many end up being humbled and embarrassed because they fall into the falsehood of equivalence. The only ones who didn't fall into the trap are the young women. They understand that better than the boys because they fight for every inch in manufacturing. Story 56. Betting parlays. Betting in general is for suckers, but consider this. If every odds boost, half-price bet, reward, etc. is a parlay or a single game parlay, then the betting sites really want you to bet parlays. If the betting sites want you to do something, don't do it. Story 57. Getting advice on women from clueless men online. No, not only is there no such thing as alpha male, it is absolutely not what anyone wants to spend time around. If you want advice about electricians, you get it from an electrician. You want advice about plumbing, you should get it from a plumber. You want advice about women, you darn sure better be looking to women. This is really basic stuff, guys. Story 58. Every dude falls for the same trap of getting brainwashed. Seriously, we're all so desperate to get rich and successful so we can feel important and validated that we fall for get-rich-quick scheme. Andrew Tate talked a lot of young men into a dumbass pyramid scheme because he played on their insecurities. Almost every dude I know has one story of blowing tons of money and time on something they thought would get them rich because something they saw in TikTok or a podcast. Story 59. The main mistake is short-term thinking. This plays out in a number of different ways, like living an unhealthy lifestyle, being unwise financially, marrying someone they know they're not intimacy compatible with, having children by accident. If you think 15 years ahead and ask what will have been the best decision, that will usually put you on the right track. Story 60. Not being curious enough or open to learning new things or different ways of doing things. Many people that are really good at things are more likely than not more than willing to teach you if you're eager to learn. But when you act like you know everything all of the time, you'll often just be ignored because people don't have the time to argue with you when they know you don't actually want to know the truth, better way, whatever. Anyways, you can still even disagree that whatever it is being taught to you isn't the best way, but it still can be pretty useful to just hear people out. Story 61. They always try to base themselves off of something they're not. I mean this in the sense of they're hurting themselves trying to push themselves to do one thing when they could be successful in something completely different. Another part to this, they always find out too late. To be completely honest though, this could be said for both men and women. Story 62. Thinking that looks are everything in the dating world. Meanwhile, some Arnold Horshack-looking guy is having the time of his life. Be interesting, read some books, have a hobby, travel when you can, do something fitness-related, wear clean clothes and be clean, and cultivate a friend group. Do some volunteer work, like yourself. Story 63. Buying cars they really can't or shouldn't afford. Save the dream car as a stretch goal once you are established. Being able to make a monthly payment doesn't mean that they can afford it at this time in their life, as other financial priorities get ignored or put off. Story 64. Drinking too much and too often. Society conditions everyone to believe they can only relax drinking or can only have fun with friends drinking. The true players find themselves without overdoing any one thing, but really exposing themselves to as much of the world as possible with brutal honesty. Story 65. Compromising your values to chase girls. Yeah, intimacy, blah, blah, but those are women you do not want as partners. Ask yourself, are you going to marry this girl? Is this current relationship worth the effort? If the answer is no, then why are you going through the headache and drama? Also, sometimes over-sexualized appearing women aren't particularly great lays. You're better off finding a partner whom you want to please, and that wants to please you. Story 66. In my trade, the lack of going above and beyond, I'm not taking about complicated tasks either. Pick up a broom, organize the gang box, take some initiative to be productive. You may not receive immediate praise, but it is noticed. Make yourself an asset, not just a person that only does the one specific thing they were told to do. Learn how to be a self-starter, not a drone. It was a long day. My rant is over. Thank you for letting me vent. Story 67. You can throw a rock at a high school bus stop and hit 14 broccoli tops wearing gray sweatpants. You see how I've completely reduced these guys to a hairstyle and pants? That's how generic this generation is. There's very little individuality. To the point my teacher friends say kids are astonished at seeing the cliques portrayed in movies prior to their generation. Eggs, jocks, alt kids, punks, band geeks, etc. There's barely any of that anymore. They've all congealed into one boring Instagram story. So guys, be yourself. Express yourself through style. Express yourself through design and creativity. The nail that sticks out gets noticed. The Japanese say gets hammed down in a proverb of conformity. Ignore that bullshit. Be yourself. Be different for fudge sakes. Story 68. Turning to vices instead of competing and trying to win and make your way in the real world. Don't numb your pain. Feel it and let it ignite you. I also see men develop a victim mindset. All that will do is keep you down. You can win or you can lose. And the beauty is that you get to decide. Story 69. Not knowing when to say enough. A lot of younger guys go through horrible relationships, jobs, etc. because it's good enough or what I deserve. The trick is to keep going until you're genuinely happy. I've been one to be miserable for most of the time and walking on eggshells, but the happy moments were so captivating, I kept looking for those. It's not worth it. Find a partner and a career that you enjoy most of the time. The rest comes naturally. Story 70. Fighting hard for one person's love who has little interest instead of testing the waters with a wide range of people to see who might truly love you too. Some people don't know what it feels like to have someone truly love them. It's empowering. It's sexy. It helps in many ways on life. Story 71. Not dating seriously in their 20s or not figuring out who they are. Figure out who you actually are, not just the version of you that exists in your hometown growing up. Get outside your comfort zone. Then find out who and what you need in a relationship and who you're compatible with. Too many either don't date properly, just flings and situationships, or date the wrong type of people cause she's fit, rich, parental approved, etc. Story 72. Poor taste in partners and not thinking hard enough about what a good partner for permanency before overcommitting. Sure, I dated some awesome, intelligent, and entertaining women, but that isn't enough reason to commit long term. I'm sure the sexes could be alternated with this. There is more to life than how someone makes you feel. Story 73. Find good role models to look up to, the ones who sound boringly honest, humble, and are willing to discuss their struggles and hardships so you can learn from their experiences. Don't look up to the YouTubers or TikTokers who show off how rich they are, how cool they are, piss people off with pranks, brag a lot, or host massive competitions. Story 74. Doing stupid stunts or making bad decisions while under the influence. You want to jump off the roof to snap that folding table? Okay, just know you might sustain an injury that gives you chronic pain every day, every night for the rest of your life. Oh, and wear earplugs. I said wear earplugs. Story 75. Externalizing blame. The most important attribute for achieving what you want in life is the propensity to focus on your decisions, actions, and thoughts when things don't go your way. If you have a tendency to blame others or blame the situation, you won't grow. If you have a tendency to blame yourself and look for adjustments you can make to your own decision-making, you'll be constantly improving. Over decades, this is what results in some people becoming homeless and miserable, and some people becoming successful and happy. The reality of what is to blame doesn't even actually matter. Story 76. Giving yourself permission to be yourself. Our inhibitions on allowing ourselves to do the thing that we truly want to do versus doing what others expect of us tends to rule our entire lives. This comes in many forms, whether it be appearance, chopam, what we study, where we go, where we live, what our hobbies are, who we socialize with, who we date or marry, etc. Most of my regrets come from following someone else's expectation or even imaginary ones. Society of me versus doing exactly what I thought was good for me to do. Story 77. Get better hygiene earlier and develop a good sense of style, haircut, clothes. Men are socialized to think this stuff doesn't matter, but it's associated with health and maturity. Mature men notice, and women definitely notice. I partied too hard a lot of time in my life, missing out on connections because I did not put my best foot forward. Story 78. A wiser man once told me, being a man is realizing that life isn't about you. It's about serving a greater meaningful purpose. For context, he meant his wife and children. Many people today, regardless of gender, are self-centered and find no fulfillment. Find your way to make the world a better place. The skills you learn and the lives you change for the better will be something you always cherish. Story 79. Buying expensive automobiles. Get set up properly before buying crazy stuff. And I'm not talking about a 20K used car, that's fine. But often people switch every couple years, or buy multiple, or buy a 60, 70K truck. In my experience, even maintaining an inexpensive properly car is a lot, especially with full coverage insurance, etc. When you have sufficient retirement and assets, it will feel a lot nicer having something nice like a Lexus. Just my 2 cents. Story 80. General advice is that when you are young, you haven't experienced enough to make life-defining decisions. If you lock yourself down way too early, it becomes more like a prison. So perhaps make sure you see the world a bit and experience life before buying a house in your hometown. You can still do that, but go in knowing it is what you want. Story 81. Not believing in themselves. Most of the time, you're the only one holding yourself back. The earlier you learn accountability, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence, the better you'll be. Some adult men never quite get there. Drinking too much. You don't need to black out every weekend. Story 82. Aside from anything physical or emotional, getting buried in debt, 20-year-old with a good job, taking out an 8-year, 80, 100K truck loan at $499, or not investing anything into a retirement saving account. Before you know it, you're in your 30s and are still broke. Story 83. As a 29-year-old bachelor with over 200 bodies, when women like you, they like you. Once you notice change, they don't anymore. Trust me, as the guy who lives where they vacation Hawaii, Don't let your girl go on a girls' trip and never argue with her, or you better hope she doesn't find someone who reminds them of you, their man. Money means everything when you're young. Everybody you meet racing for it like you are promiscuous. Remember your first friend group. That's who you truly are. Pay attention to your circle before they hurt you. Don't do. If it don't feel right, you will pay. If you want to do something, never let your friends stop you. If you get a bad feeling about a friend, you're right. They aren't your friend. Find a strong belief system and learn it so you aren't easily influenced by others' opinions. Eat healthy ASF. Try not to drink if you can smoke plant substance. And if you smoke plant substance, use papers. Women talk, so if you're smashing like I am, make sure you treat all of them right. I've come to find out if you're charming and treat them like princesses while they think they are shaming you. Their friends usually secretly come more, get a taste of your wildest intimacy experiences before you settle down. Do calisthenics. If you don't have a plan, after HS, join the military and buy yourself some time while learning how to be a part of a brotherhood and having a job with purpose. I became a nuclear submarine QAI, but before that I was a gangster, an underground king, if you may. If you don't like your family, you are right to not like them. You'll find your chosen family soon. I got more, but I'm only responding to young men here. I can give you a beautiful lie or the real truth about life. And don't worry, I'm not a victim. I'm a prime suspect. Story 84. Expecting closure from a long relationship that ended badly. It feels like after years they'd at least owe you a reason, but you can't make them. And finding peace with it is entirely on you. I reckon about 90 of guys have been screwed up learning this at some point. Story 85. Wasting time on video games and bullshit. Youth is the prime of your life. Take care of your body. Develop yourself in as many ways as possible. Travel. It can be cheap abroad. Educate yourself or go to college. And always try talking to the girl you like. Edit. The thing about giving advice to the youth, it tends to be egocentric. There are plenty of folks my age that wish they had spent more time playing video games, smoking pot, partying, watching more TV, etc. They continue to strive to do this for the most part. My advice was geared toward a younger self, someone who would be remorseful about having a late start at living a remarkable life. My current self likes to run marathons, travel the world, learn new languages, and be of service to humanity. So for someone like me, spending excessive time on idolatry isn't a plus. Story 86. Trying to impress other men. Unless you're into dudes, then yeah, go for it. Y'all spend all this effort trying to look cool for other guys while ignoring what women are telling you, then cry about the male loneliness epidemic. Like, do you have any clue how easy it is to get girls with minimal effort? It's so easy, I've gotten girlfriends on accident. Story 87. Confusing belligerence with confidence. Given no other options, a girl might go out with a jerk over a really nice guy who will treat them right but lack any confidence. What most women really prefer is if that nice makes them feel safe and acts like a secure adult. Story 88. Too many men seem to take to heart the message of some darn fool who told them that the world doesn't care and everyone is out to get you, so you should just focus on you and yours and screw everyone else. Unfortunately, that darn fool is almost always their dad or grandfather, so they listen to it. That whole message is folly. And the reason our society is so shoot. You aren't stuck in traffic, you are traffic. Act accordingly. The world is cold and uncaring because too many people listen to their pappies and granddaddies and not to their moms and grandmas. The world is as callous as you help make it. Story 89. Loneliness is normal. While there's nothing wrong with it, such usually occurred to blokes later on in life. Technologies for and against being social, normalized toxic attitudes towards everyone and everything. Even the lack of communication skills for younger generations all have the loneliness epidemic we now see globally for young men and even boys of every background and income tier. Story 90. Generally not being very forward-thinking. I have 2 different cousins whose kids dropped out of high school. They didn't finish, they didn't go to college or trade school or anything like that. They are working at convenience stores and the like. One of them decided he wanted to move to Alaska, and so he got his girlfriend and his no education having jerk and moved across the country, and they're starting a family. Then you see people who graduate college and have college debt, and instead of living at home where they can catch up before going out on their own, it's too embarrassing to live at home, and so they try to pay down debts while paying $2,500 a month for an apartment. Of course, there are exceptions for people with a bad home life or just wasteful spending. You see young people fresh out of school who got their first job and they get a fancy car and have the cleaning lady come twice a week to their luxury apartment. They take 3 weeks off to travel abroad. Not that these aren't good things to do if you want, but you're just starting out. You need to pay down debts, build a career, and build a nest egg before you start spending that kind of money. Story 91. Younger people in general are taking on information without vetting it first and using critical thinking. Too many people are getting brainwashed with toxic ideas, creating conflict and distracting them from what they should truly be paying attention to. Story 92. Not doing any meaningful self-reflection, real, honest, emotional inventory. Why do you choose to be who you are? What motivates you? Who do you dislike? Do you dislike? Why? Do you love? Who? Why? Stop listening to people shilling answers. Listen to people who ask questions, including yourself. You'll start trusting who you are and the choices you make because you'll understand why you're making them, not just reacting to feel good. Story 93. Having their lust take control of them. I think it's important to hone their intimacy energy into productive use. Whether FAP, fitness, martial arts, bettering yourself, etc. Instead of being the guy that chases girls, become the man that women chase. Story 94. Not signing a prenup before you get married. You cannot believe how many guys have been screwed over due to this. Listen, I am all for gender equality and everything, but the legal system is strongly biased against men these days, and modern culture shames men into not asking for prenup in the name of chivalry, even though society pretends as egalitarian in today's age. 70. Divorces are filed by women. 90 if they are college educated. 90 case women get child custody. Why would you sign a legal contract where other party is incentivized to break it? Legal system incentivizes women to divorce you if you don't sign a prenup, and that's why they're the one initiating divorces. Story 95. Buying or leasing a new car. Look, you don't need it. You can get a used car for far less money and it can still be reliable and nice. And most of you are losing your jerk from a financial standpoint. And for what? The vast majority of you buy boring shoot. Who cares if it's a 2023 and you got a deal on it? You're still going to lose your jerk on it. Get something older, not a lot of miles, and throw a CarPlay deck in it. Take care of it and learn how to work on it. Story 96. Treating life as a video game, thinking there are hacks, and they'll get everything they want if they just crack the code. Yeah, there is good advice you can follow, and self-improvement is not a bad thing. But there are no guarantees, and pretty much everything worthwhile requires work and effort and consistency. Story 97. Chasing validation from women instead of building a life for yourself. They spend their 20s trying to be the perfect guy they think women want. Agreeable, always available, putting her needs first, adopting her hobbies and interests, and basing their entire self-worth on whether she's happy with them. They think this is the path to love and respect, but it's the fast track to being taken for granted, cheated on, and ultimately dumped for a guy who has his own shoot going on. The mistake is believing that attraction is a choice. It's not. A woman doesn't decide to be attracted to you because you're a good guy. She either is or she isn't. And she's not attracted to the man-children who try to merge their identity with hers. She's attracted to the man who has his own mission, his own goals, his own friends, his own life, and is just inviting her along for the ride. The guy who would be perfectly fine without her, but chooses to be with her. Build the empire first. The queen is a bonus, not the foundation. Story 98. The number of "why don't my male body part work" posts is utterly mind-blowing. Reddit skews young. If this was a collection of geriatrics, I could buy it. But even then, I'm closing in on geriatric. I'm 58. It's older for Reddit. And I ain't making posts like that. Story 99. I mentor a lot of young men, and it honestly shocks me when I talk to them and how little they seem to interact with women. I'd ask them questions like, have you gone on a date with a girl? Have you ever asked a girl out on a date? Do you ever flirt with your female coworkers? Do you have any female friends that you talk to on a regular basis? Too often they'd say no, never. It's almost as if they're too timid to even talk to women these days. It's no wonder misogynistic snake oil charlatans like Andrew Tate are so popular amongst young men. It's sickening and it's dangerous. My advice to young men in general is work out and eat healthy. Get educated or get a trade. Be fun-loving and optimistic. Be silly and free-spirited. Be patient and polite. Be confident but not arrogant. Be a gentleman but not a pushover. Be responsible. Be independent. Be smart. And most importantly, respect women's decisions and boundaries at all times. If you do all these things right, you may not get a girlfriend, but you'll be a happier person in general, and consequently, you'll begin to show it. Then people will want to start hanging out with you more, and you'll find yourself getting invited to a lot more parties and social functions as a result. Story 100. not getting outside their comfort zone and learning how to approach women and also be approachable. They have it in their mind that finding a romantic partner is something that just happens, but you have to learn how. Rejection is one way you learn to identify your own weaknesses and areas where growth should be happening. Story 101. Acting like they deserve more than they have. The reality is that men get exactly what we deserve. We all have the money, respect, women, and life we deserve. The hardest pill to swallow is that ultimately most of us have the health we deserve as well. Think you deserve better? You don't. If you did, you'd have it. If you want better, do what it takes to deserve it. End of day. Living your life as if that is true will bring a lot more joy and fulfillment to any man's life. Story 102. I'm hoping the young man who plays ball at the gym where everyone plays can stay the course and keep his pretty, athletic girlfriend. I saw a similar couple when I was a kid who were a few years older than me. They went off to school together, but in time they broke up. She was a keeper. He went down the road of adult beverage and substances and died a couple years ago in his mid-50s and looked to be in his 60s. I hope he can be an awesome mate for this young athletic lady. They make a good couple and would have very athletic kids. It's hard to escape the rigors of youth, thinking one may just replace this beautiful woman for another, but it is the very best of her soul that shines brighter than her beauty. Story 103. Spending way too much time listening to podcasts, influencers, and others about interacting with women instead of just making friends with women. You fall for the grifty bullshit less when you actually have interactions with people. Matter of fact, this goes beyond just women. It applies to other races, folks with different intimacy orientations, and so much more. Story 104. I see a lot of young guys in relationships ruin their relationships, being stubborn and not knowing how to communicate. A guy at my work was mad at his GF because she didn't say hi, babe, like she always does when she picks him up. I'm like, did you tell her it bothered you? And he said, no, she can figure it out. Oh, Mayo, yeah, man. Have fun ruining your relationship, expecting her to read your mind, not bothering to communicate or being scared. It makes you look weak is a young guy thing that will hold them back from being happy. Story 105. Not necessarily full-on misogyny, but siding with the boys against women. Dudes, it's a bucket of crabs situation. Weaklings pushing each other to engage in weakling behavior so no one is happy. When it's their turn and those friends of yours will abandon you for a hint of private area, and the love of your life that you have offended with edgy jokes will stay lost forever. Don't come crying about the loneliness epidemic and go stand up for somebody. Story 106. Treating women terribly and thinking great intimacy and/or connections are a dime a dozen, they're not. So cherish and respect the women, people who you have great intimacy with, even if you don't have a good connection or don't have great intimacy with but have an otherwise great connection. Both can be worked on actually. Story 107. Taking dating advice from people who admit to always failing at dating. Stuff like, I have never made a woman happy. Let me tell you the unequivocal truth that height is all that matters. No, I have no experience to back this, but I have a good guess why it works. Story 108. Disrespecting women. I'm not a feminist. I just believe in decency, and all the stories I hear from my female friends about what men message them or say to them or how they try to date them, it's saddening. We have to be better. There's no reason they should choose the bear. Story 109. They act horrible to women, then complain when women don't want to be with them. I have the secret to success with women, and I promise you it works. Just treat them the same way you would treat anyone else. They aren't some other species. If you are able to make friends with men, then you are able to make friends with women. It's the exact same process. If you are friends with women, sometimes some of them will want to date you or sleep with you. You are much more likely to find a romantic or intimacy partner if other women are comfortable around you and like spending time with you. Stop being so fudge weird about it. Story 110. Emerdi Seven have a 21-year-old close friend. We're musicians, so we make music together and work on projects together for long periods of time. Something may suck, something may be unfair, but you gotta grow up. Men's mental health should be taken seriously, and I use patience because I knew I was similar at his age. Everyone has a temper. I think mine is way worse than his, but the difference is he doesn't see it. Anger is a very important emotion because it's a very honest emotion. That being said, others don't need to bear the brunt of my anger unless it was pointed at them. Even if I get angry at someone else justifiably, my anger is not their responsibility. My anger is a reaction in me, and the only one who can control me is me. They didn't make me angry. What they did or said made me angry because that's my emotional reaction. Story 111. Mistaking cruelty for masculinity. I work with Gen Z, and maybe it's cause now I'm older, and I hear them saying stuff like, oh, well, sucks for them, in messed up situations, and I'm just like, bro, big words from someone is smacking distance. I am showing my lack of empathy. Story 112. Getting married has to be the dumbest thing a young man can do. There is no advantage to it. Please don't do it. Half of marriages end in divorce, and men will get screwed over every time by the courts. Most of the marriages that don't end in divorce are probably unhappy marriages anyway. Story 113. Not learning how to communicate, not using their words, thinking their spouse and others can read their mind. I'm a poor communicator who married a poor communicator. Luckily, we learned. Not learning to save money for emergency, not pre-planning, live your best life. Story 114. Listening to people like Sneeko or Andrew Tate, these guys are absolute dipshits and have nothing of value to offer. They're just training you to remain single and to be walking red flags for romantic partners. Any influencers on any platform are more than likely not worth listening to. They get paid a shoot ton of money to say things people think they want to hear someone else say. Don't buy into it. Odds are they don't even believe their own bullshit. They're grifters. Everyone is a human being that is just trying to get through the day without experiencing any disasters. They want you to dislike people when the only people deserving of dislike are the ones peddling it to enrich themselves. I didn't think I was saying anything controversial, but appreciate the downvotes anyway, I guess. Story 115. Being too soft and compliant with their significant other. Men need to have a backbone and say no when their partner tests their boundaries. Too many weak yes men who let their girlfriends or wives emasculate and walk all over them. I don't mean they need to be a macho jerk, but they need to be a separate person and own what they want in life.